Hi, it's Devanika from Retirement Wellness SA. And today we're going to be covering quite an important question, especially if you are a government employee who's thinking about retiring or resigning. And the question that the member has asked me is, what happens to my money if I retire from GEPF? Now, if you are in that position where you're making that decision, which route is best for you? Should you retire or resign? One of the key factors that you might want to consider is how your money actually gets invested. And to help give you a better understanding about this, we want to explore both options. Now, perhaps there's a part of you that has a bit of fear. If you have to resign and you're taking out all your money, then you sort of are a victim to the insurance company. You have to depend on the markets. You have to hope and pray that the markets perform well. You might feel that your income might fluctuate, or what if you run out of money? Because of the fact or the fear of investing in the markets and knowing this is what experiences a lot of people have had. Now, we want to contrast that with what happens when you retire. And at the end of this, I've got something really surprising that I want to share with you. So let's go take a look. First up, remember the question we're looking at is, what does the GEPF do with your money when you retire? And let's start to unwrap this. And let's go through this in a step-by-step process, right? The first option is they could take that money and keep it as cash. So they could keep this inside of a bank account. And what are the chances of them doing that? Extremely slim. And the reason for that is, if the money sits inside a bank account, what we want to start to consider is, what kind of return would we get from the bank? Remember, that return would come in the way of interest. And usually the bank is going to give us a good interest rate. So we'll have interest here. But usually that interest it's attractive if it's a short period, you see, because usually that's where we use a bank. It's when we have a short-term investment. But GEPF is investing this money over a long period. And keeping it in the bank, the danger here is inflation. The return that is offered from the bank might not beat inflation. So inflation is what influences your buying power. The easiest example I can give you for inflation is, let's look at the price of bread. Now, you know how much you're paying for bread right now. 20 years ago, the price of bread was much lower. Let's call it 5 rands. What made the price of bread jump up from 5 rand to what you're paying right now? It's this, inflation. So inflation is what's constantly pushing up the value of things. It's pushing up the prices of things. And what we want to do is always make sure that your money is growing more than inflation. If it's growing less than inflation, you are actually losing wealth. If you are growing more than inflation, then you are building wealth. So the challenge with a bank investment is, we might not be able to beat inflation over the long term. See, because inflation is fluctuating, we might not be able to beat it. So we know for sure that they wouldn't be investing all of this money inside a bank account. So what's the next step that they could do? Could they look at keeping this cash? So could they house it cash somewhere? So just have it in cash. I wouldn't say under a mattress, but I mean, just keep cash aside. We know for sure they won't be doing that. The reason is, if they keep cash aside, there's no growth from that investment. It's also risky because now you've got a whole lot of cash that's kept aside. It's not protected. There's no regulations. Money could get misplaced, all sorts of risk as a result of keeping the cash aside, which means they're not going to do that route either. Oh, and in addition to that, when we look from the growth perspective, we're not only not able to beat inflation, but we're not growing that. And if we factor that there are retirees who are earning an income, which means that this cash is going to start to decrease, you see? And there's nothing adding to that cash. See, there's no sort of return that's adding to the cash. So we know for sure they're not doing that. So what could it be? And here's where this money is actually getting invested. Now, I want to share with you this screen. And the reason I'm doing this is I want you to do the exercise on your own. You can see here, GEPF is giving us an idea. And this is from GEPF's website. And they're saying what we invest in. So they're telling us they are investing in South African and African markets. See, and a small portion is invested in global markets outside the African continent. And then you have what we call asset classes. Now, if you have been with me on the Masterclass where we have a look at this, or if you know about any investing, if you've done a retirement annuity or an education plan or any form of investing with an insurance company, you would see these words there, asset class. It's exactly what these funds use. So they also invest money across different asset classes, which is equities, bonds, property, cash, and there's so many more. And then you have them locally, domestic, and then you have international. See? So the money is invested inside asset classes. And what are the asset classes? Well, deep down, these are actual companies. So the actual companies that the money is invested in. Let's use an example. Could be Woolworths, could be Engine. And all of those would now determine the performance. So if the money is used to buy a share in Woolworths, the performance of Woolworths will influence the overall result of the investment. But remember, there's probably hundreds of companies that they invest in the money in because it's spread very thinly, just like how it would be if a member had resigned and invested via an insurance company, see, using a fund. The next thing I want to show you is this part. Also, you'll find this on the site, which is what do we invest in? And again, here, GEPF is showing you equities, fixed income, properties, and they've got the Isibaya fund. Now, equities are important, and we want to go one step further. And why I'm highlighting this is a lot of members have this feeling that if the money is within GEPF, it's sort of safe. And don't want to say that it's not safe, but I just want you to understand that we're still investing money, you see? And if you look more clearly, they're investing inside the JSE. It's invested in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. See? Now, the moment you think that, you might be thinking risky, because a lot of members, when they think resignation, they feel, I've got to invest money. There's a risk element to it. What I want you to see here is, it doesn't matter which route you take, whether you are going to resign or whether you're going to retire. You're always investing. So let me take you to the next screen to show you that. So this is a fact. Whether you retire or resign, you're always investing. Let's go a little deeper. If you choose to leave your money within GEPF, in essence, what is taking place is GEPF would be investing your money. See? So here, this is if you retire, GEPF does your investing for you. So in essence, what you're saying is, you're telling GEPF, look, I'd rather you do the investing for me. So I don't want to invest the money with the insurance company. I want you to invest the money for me. Bearing in mind now, GEPF does the investment in a similar way to the insurance company. Some things would change naturally. That's what makes all the funds different. But they're still investing in the stock exchange with all those elements. The alternative to that is if we have to resign. So here, if we resign, you're still investing. See, we're still investing. The difference is we are now asking the insurance company to do that for us. So we're now saying to the insurance company, look, I'm taking my money away from GEPF and I want you to invest that money for me. See? Now there's different options that the insurance company has. In fact, I speak about it, 5 different options that they can use in order to invest money. But you know that there's 2 options for you to take, right? You could retire, in which case that money stays with GEPF. Remember, you are now making a conscious decision, even if you don't know it, but you're making a decision for GEPF to invest the money. Because the fact is, you're always investing whether you retire or resign. If you opt in to resign, you then are making this conscious decision to say, look, I want to take my money away. I'm still investing, but now you're choosing the insurance company to invest for you. Okay? Now, the question I want to leave you with is, what if there was a third way of doing this? So right now, you know if you have to retire, you're leaving this money with GEPF, but then you sort of have to abide by the rules of GEPF, which means GEPF is going to dictate to you on the lump sum you're going to get. They would obviously dictate to you on the monthly income that you would receive. They would dictate on the increases that you're going to be getting monthly. This is on the route of retirement, right? So on retire here, GEPF controls that. This is if you retire. And then on the other option is if we have to use the insurance company, and this is in the case of you resigning. So if you had to resign, we know that the insurance company now controls that, meaning they would provide you with the income, they'll provide you with all the elements, and also what happens when you pass away. Both of these companies decide that. See, so they sort of control that. The question or the thing that I want to leave you with is, what if there was a third way of doing this? Now, if you found this video helpful and insightful, please click on the like sign and remember to subscribe so that you get to see future videos as soon as we post them. And I'd love to hear your comments on this one, because this is something that is of particular importance for GEPF members. I get the question all the time, what happens to my money when I retire from GEPF? I'll chat soon.